The following is presented by the Cattlemen's Texas Longhorn Registry and the Cattlemen's Texas Longhorn Conservancy.
The Texas Longhorn. What comes to mind when you hear those words? For some, it symbolizes the Old West and cattle drives. Or maybe it stands for a way of life and the people who raise, perpetuate, and care for them. Still, for others, it represents a breed of cattle that were and are an invaluable part of U.S. and Texas history. What most people don't think of when they hear the term Texas Longhorn is a legendary breed that is quickly fading into the history it helped create. The Cattlemen's Texas Longhorn Conservancy, or CTLC, is a public charity organization whose mission is to engage in scientific and historical research, and most importantly, to educate people about the importance and benefits of the Texas Longhorn cattle and challenges they currently face, ranging from genetic testing to possible extinction.
The goal of the Cattlemen's Texas Longhorn Registry is to preserve historically correct, genetically pure Texas Longhorn cattle. We maintain herds of cattle that are of Spanish descent that look most closely to those animals that went up the trail in the 1870s before they started crossbreeding with other European breeds and with Brahman cattle.
Mr. Enrique Guerra, a sixth-generation rancher of purebred Longhorn cattle from Mexico, now ranches in the rugged brush country of South Texas. A founding member of the CTLR, Guerra recalls why the organization was formed and what their goals were.
A few of us that really were serious about these purity programs got together and started our own association. But we decided to use the latest state-of-the-art tool, which was blood typing, where you draw blood, you send it to a laboratory, and if it's got the genetic code, he's pure. But if it shows other breeds, it'll also come out. Unfortunately, some modern breeders put a lot of emphasis on the length of their horn, of the cattle that they own, and they advertise as such. They're trying to sell the cattle by the size or color, for that matter, of the horn, and that's not the purpose of our programs, because we're more interested in genetic purity. There is a big difference between genetic purity and some of the crossbreeding some of these cattlemen have done, because they've injected African blood from Watusi or Afrikaner cattle, which have longhorns, or the English Longhorn, which is an entirely different breed. It has the same name, but it's different. The Texas Longhorn has its own genetic formula. The studies have been done, and they found that it is a true pure breed, and it has its own patterns. And they're totally different from the Hereford or the Angus or all the other European breeds.
Maudine Marks is the daughter of E.H. Marks, a longtime Texas Longhorn breeder and founder of the Houston Fatstock Show, which is now known as the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, the largest of its kind in the world. Miss Marks takes great pride in discussing the unique traits that a purebred Texas Longhorn possesses.
The cow's horns must twist by the time they're 5 or 6 years old. The steer's horns will do the same thing. Some cattle have double twists. They have long tails. They have the longhorns. They have long tails, and that's because that nature equipped them with these long tails to swat off more of the flies. They're very clean. They do not have any big dewlap. They are underneath the body. They don't have any big navel flaps, and the bulls are tucked up tight to the body. And the ears are small, and they sit right underneath the horns in a protected place. Anything that had any extra skin hanging out there to get caught in the thickets, the thorns, and the bushes, and heaven knows Texas got lots of that. The cactus and all, they would get infected and they would die, see. So that's what you have. Those are things that you can look for.
Fayette Yates is also the grandson of a longtime Texas Longhorn breeder, Ira Yates, and has spent most of his life watching firsthand the advantages purebred Texas Longhorns have over other common breeds.
They eat less feed than other cattle, and eat a lot of things that regular bovine get sick on. They thrive on it. They can stand heat better than these Ramers or Zebus. They've got they can stand it better, and they can certainly stand the cold better. They're a very adaptable cow. Takes them longer to get their full growth out, and they live longer. And their productive life is longer than other cattle. Straight as a rule, straight across. Real Longhorn is small at birth, but they're strong. I've seen them just hit the ground and jump up and nurse. A lot of these other calves well-bred will take half a day and longer to get up. And their get up, 99% of them will jump up and they're ready to run from a coyote or something. They're strong, but they're small.
Lawrence Wallace is a lifelong rancher of purebred Texas Longhorns and knows all too well the importance of vigor and resourcefulness when it comes to raising livestock in inhospitable country. Wallace grew up spending time with ranching cousin Graves Peeler in the rugged country of southwest Texas.
Whenever the 1950 drought came, which was 7 years, this was about the third or fourth year into the drought. And the crossbred cattle were not having their calves. They wouldn't breed back. And the Longhorn cattle we had over in some old real hard brushy country, Pear, and there was, the only thing we fed them was meal and salt whenever they would calve. We came in one evening and we'd been working and cutting the dry cows out of one of these crossbred herds. And my cousin called me in, said the Longhorn cattle are the only one that's paying their way. And so we sold all the crossbred cattle he had. He had 350 head of Longhorn cows left, and he had paid his ranch out. He'd made the payments on the ranch, had $16,000 in the bank, and had paid his grocery bill. These Longhorn cattle brought him through the drought and paid for his ranch, and he still had a livelihood.
In addition to these unique qualities, beef from Texas Longhorn cattle has a robust flavor and is tender and lean, with higher levels of protein and much less cholesterol than other beef. The Texas Longhorn's natural adaptation in this area also makes it ideal for sustainable grass-fed production.
The state of Texas has a tremendous debt of gratitude to the Longhorn. During the Civil War, all these cattle bred wild. After the Civil War, the North was totally depleted of beef cattle, any kind of cattle, because all the farms and ranches, the livestock fed the Union Army. Well, as it turned out, that after the war, people up north had money because they'd worked in the factories and made money, and they wanted to eat beef. The only one that could supply them was Texas. And between 1873-4 until 1880, approximately anywhere from 8 to 10 million head of cattle, Longhorn cattle, left the area going north on the trail drives. First, they drove adult steers. 3, 4, 5-year-old steers. So that's when the cattle ranches started, and they supplied them with Longhorn cows. That was the only thing available. And the first wave were steers, and then the second wave were breeding stock to fill up all these ranches. And that money that was produced by the cattle drives was the economy that primed the economic pump of Texas. And it all comes down to where those monies eventually, those ranchers that made money, were the ones that financed the oil drilling industry. So it's all connected. But the start was the Longhorn. It was the only state that economically returned very quickly to its previous state. To this day, you still see some of the effects of the Civil War in the South. Rural Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, you still see the effects of the Civil War. But in Texas, it bounced right back because it's all due to the Longhorn cattle, because there were no other cattle.
The importance of the Longhorn in the history and future of Texas is unquestionable, but the current plight of this amazing breed is unimaginable. Will Craddock, herd manager for the official state of Texas Longhorn herd, discusses the biggest threat that the historic Texas Longhorn faces today.
Some of the challenges are selecting these cattle for what we consider a pure Longhorn that doesn't have influence of the other cattle breeds. The unique part of a Longhorn, it is a breed that was developed here in Texas by nature. It was not developed by man. There was not any selection by man. It was developed by nature over several hundred years. So they are uniquely adapted to this area. There's a very small number of animals worldwide that represent the historic Longhorn. I've heard a couple of the guys estimate maybe 3,500 head of cattle. This breed is closer to extinction than it ever has been at any point in its history, just because we have so many animals out there that aren't true Longhorns.
They're slipping away fast. We don't do that. There's fewer pure Texas Longhorns today than probably ever was. If you haven't got the genuine article, you have nothing to be proud of, in my opinion.
Our interest at heart is to conserve the purity of the breed, the true Texas Longhorn.
What's going to happen is the Longhorns are going to be bred out of existence and they'll be lost forever. As a geneticist told me years ago, once the last real, true, genetically pure Longhorn is gone, there's no way to ever reconstruct that animal. It's gone forever. And my biggest hope, along with everybody in the CTLR, that we will be able to change enough minds, do enough promotion, get enough attention, that we'll be able to change the industry and keep enough people interested in preserving the original, true Texas Longhorn type, that we'll be able to keep the animals around for many, many generations to come.
The Cattlemen's Texas Longhorn Conservancy was instrumental in establishing a collaborative effort in the genetic study of historic Texas Longhorns, and the CTLC is funded by its members and private donations. To learn more about the CTLC or to get involved, please visit TexasLonghornConservancy.org. The Cattlemen's Texas Longhorn Registry exists to make known true Texas Longhorn cattle as a distinct and unique breed in order to preserve, protect, and further its legacy. Registered public herds include the Wichita Mountains Wildlife Refuge in Cache, Oklahoma, Fort Robinson State Park in Crawford, Nebraska, and Big Bend Ranch State Park near Presidio, Texas. The CTLR is also currently working with the Land Heritage Institute in San Antonio and the State Herd of Texas at Fort Griffin State Historic Site and San Angelo State Park on a genetic restoration project